Wait for you. Oh, okay. I guess you can edit it. Never mind. I was like, I'm not ready yet.
No, you're good. This is how we go. We just roll with it.
Oh yeah.
How's your day going?
Ah man, it's a day. How about that? It's a day. How about yours?
Pretty good. It's trying to dodge raindrops over here a little bit, but
Yeah. All right, I'm good
all
then.
right. I was playing out in the rain in my rain boots today. I picked some up yesterday at Academy, and I was like, let me go try these out.
That's
I
what's
just
up.
realized that I was about to try to plug in this mic I got the other day
Hey, is that the
into my
Yeti? Is
phone. What's that?
that the Yeti mic?
Yeah, the Finny,
Oh, okay. Finny,
or
yep. I know that one.
wait, it's Fine. Is that it?
I don't know. No, that's okay.
Like, yeah.
It's all
But
good. Yeah.
I was looking at some mics and like it's from a YouTube video and it was like, oh yeah, you should get this mic and this is good for travel. And I go and I check the price and it's like 400 something. I'm like, I can't do that right now. But
Yeah.
I had a comparison and this mic was right next to it for like 27 bucks
Mm-hmm.
and over like 1,200 people rated it over like about 5 stars or 4.5 stars. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll go with that.
Yeah. I got you. All right,
But
I'm ready when you are.
okay. But I'd say we basically already started. I don't I don't do
Oh,
anything
my,
formal. But
my bad.
no, you're good. You're good.
You know, this joint says 6 to 8. We're not doing 2 hours, are we?
No. I just put a time in there. I was
Oh,
just gonna, if anything, maybe an hour. Yeah,
okay. I got
yeah. I figured like short enough to be able to get on the social media call.
you. Absolutely. Which I never get the notices. So I was really excited that I might be able to get on tonight.
Nice. So, uh, the way I've been starting this so far is just asking you this simple question. I'll just ask it. Um, so, Jesse Ross, who do you say you are?
Man, I am a father. I am a connector. I am a man of the people, and I'm a servant. I just want to serve people.
Okay. So, in your service role, like, how do you go about serving?
So what's funny is I'm at my church right now, which is why I was a little bit late.
Gotcha.
Um, I I was able to understand a long time ago that there's certain things that I'm really really good at and certain things that I'm not. The things that I'm not really good at, I stay away from. I try my hardest to get out of them and to not act like I know about stuff that I don't know about. The stuff that I
Gotcha.
do know, which is kind of around some of the stuff that I do in business, I try to lend my talents and my gifts and time and even treasure wherever I can. And so some of the service is just when people need me to show up, I show up. When people need ideas, I'm always willing to give ideas. I'm a pretty kind of hands-on person, and so often people need someone to execute, and that's what I do really, really well. And
Okay.
so in some of that service roles, I just show up, man. I build relationships with people. I do my best. I know professionally, I'm a consultant, I'm a speaker, and a coach. Those are kind of the three arms of what I do professionally. And so I get to serve people in and throughout relationships and different organizations and one-on-one, and I love it.
Got you. How long have you been in the speaking space professionally?
So doing my own thing for about 4 years now. I
Okay.
started speaking though probably close to 15, close to 15 years ago. I worked for an organization where I had to give talks to young people every every Monday night. And so I got real early practice of how to put together a talk, how to make it relatable, because these were all high school and middle school kids. So it had to be short, had to be sweet, and it had to be engaging. But
Mhm.
then after I left that organization, I realized, man, I really enjoyed that part of what I did. and I took the leap and started doing it professionally for 4 years.
Got you. Nice. And that what kind of led you down that path? Was it just like a volunteer opportunity came up for you to speak to the youth?
Once you do the same thing every Monday for about 8 years, 15, 8 to 10 years, like you kind of just get like stuck in it and you try to figure out what's, hold on one second.
Okay.
They forgot youth group isn't tonight. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Just for Mosaic?
Mosaic is out there today. Yeah, so I got used to it. And once you do something for so long and you enjoy it and then it just stops, I was like, man, I miss it. Like I genuinely missed talking to people on a Monday night or coming up with talks or trying to create creative stuff. And it became, because I did it so much, it became easy. And so that was partly why when I left the organization, I was like, man, I gotta figure out how to get back into that part. And they used to fly me all across the country, and I used to talk to different groups. And so I got early exposure to it for free, and I was like, yo, I really like this. So that kind of pushed me to get back into it. I just didn't know that you can make money doing it until after I left. I was like, oh, wait, you get paid for this? Oh, I thought it was a part of the job.
Right. So you were doing it for free for 8 years?
Oh, man, for 8 years. Every Monday night, trainings and camps and all types of stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
And was that through your church? Or, I mean, you said it was through that organization. Like, how did you link up with that organization?
It was a nonprofit. So I was a part of a nonprofit as a kid, It was called Young Life. So I was one of the kids, kind of came here and there, met a guy who reminded me of me. And then when I graduated, I came back and volunteered, and I volunteered for a really long time just because it was just something that was passionate. It was close. I mean, it was like it's in my neighborhood that I'm in right now. Kids who look like me. And so that was my way of giving back.
Gotcha.
And then I led a few teams, and then one of the guys who was in charge, he was like a VP, he was like, yo, you want to come on staff? But I had to move. So I moved to Rockford, Illinois from Minneapolis, Minnesota to work for them. And then I did that for 2 years and then came back. So part of it was just, I just wanted to get back. And then when I started working for them, then that was really, really when it took off.
Gotcha. Okay. That's what's up.
Yeah.
And you said, what part of the country are you in?
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in cold Minnesota.
Oh, man.
Look, so here's how you know it's cold. You got on a t-shirt, you were talking about rain, you talking about being in rain boots and stuff. Yo, I got on hoodies, I got on a t-shirt under this and a shirt under this. I ain't playing no games.
So you're not out there trying to hang out in your shorts?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not that guy. I had my hood on most of the day. I was like, yo, it's cold outside.
Gotcha. Well, it's weird because it's like it does this thing where it'll rain over here and it'll warm up for a second, and then tomorrow drop down to like low of 30s and 50s. It'll be there for like a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then it might jump up to like 70 for some weird reason.
Oh, wow. And you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, just north of Atlanta, up in the mountains of North Georgia.
Is that like Stone Mountain or what?
No, Stone Mountains is like south of Atlanta. So I'm up in Dalton as you're going up to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Dope.
I guess I'll be going to the Appalachians this weekend, hang out with some of the guys from the men's prayer line.
Dope. That's what's up, man.
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about like how you grew up. Did you always live in Minneapolis?
So I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. But my mother moved up here, up to Minneapolis when I was a baby. Like I legit don't remember. All my memories of growing up are in Minneapolis. So when I tell people like I'm from Minneapolis, but I still got, my parents are both from Mississippi. So I got that Southern swag with the Midwest swag.
I mean, what is it like I guess that's kind of a silly question. I was gonna say, what is it like up in the Midwest in comparison to like other places that you've traveled to, like in comparison to the not with the nonprofit when you were going around to different places and speaking to kids?
The most common thing when I tell people I'm from Minnesota, if I'm talking to anybody of color, they'll be like, "Yo, there's black people in Minnesota." And I'm like, "Yeah." So that's a comment, and then I'll say, "Yep," and I played hockey growing up, and
Yeah.
so I think no matter where you are, no matter where you're from, there's always a level of isolation that you are. You're isolated from different parts of the world. You're isolated from culture in a sense, but then we're so much exposed, right? So I remember first going out to Atlanta a few times. I was like, yo, I ain't never seen this many black people in one place in my life. And like I would go throughout the day and I would look around. I'm like, yo, there's this, okay, wow, because there's a lot of us in Minnesota, but there's not a lot compared to Atlanta, right? Compared to the South. And so the culture I grew up in, especially in a nonprofit, I was pretty much always the only black person that worked in that organization. And for an organization that I worked for before in 3 states, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, I was the only person of color for a minute. And so I've always been the only, I've always been the youngest in certain aspects. And then there's really a perception of, because in Minnesota, especially in the Midwest, there's a lot of really, really good schools. Minnesota is popular because there's so many Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 400 companies, headquarters to Target, Medtronic, Best Buy, all these companies that we have headquarters. So there's always jobs. Gotcha. But the thing is always, are there jobs for people of color? So there's a lot of white folks, there's a lot of senior leadership, and not always tons of community opportunities for people of color when they come up at work. So General Mills, they'll hire you. Cargill, they'll hire you. Sleep Number, they'll hire you, but you got to find your own way throughout life. And most of the time, those corporate companies, they want to make sure you stay out of trouble. So they move you to the suburbs. So you don't even know, the urban part of the community and the urban part of the cities exist until you meet somebody like me and you're like, yo, where are you from? Yo, where did you do that at? Right. So I was always the kid who met, because I went to a school that was very diverse, and people would kind of come from all over. I would meet people and they'd be like, yo, where are you from? Because you don't seem like you're from here, which technically I wasn't. And then I would always connect people like, oh, yo, you like basketball. We should go hoop with them. And we'd go across and they'd be like, yo, how do you meet all these people? And so that's how Minnesota is for me. It's just, I love it. It's a place. My kids are here, so I'm not planning on moving. But the simple fact that I've been able to go and travel and tell people about what it's like being in Minnesota, but also bring different experiences from being in Atlanta and Chicago and Houston. I'll be in Houston tomorrow, to bring those experiences back and kind of create that culture and give people something new it's been a really great thing for me. And most of my friends are transplants. Most of my friends aren't even from here.
Okay. Right.
And so, yeah, it's just a little different. I see it differently. I think, you could look at it. There's probably some people who feel like there's a crab in a barrel kind of mindset. There's probably some people who are like, yo, there's, endless opportunities to make money and to be successful. To both of those, I would say, yes. Yep. There's an opportunity for everything. I think it's all about how you see it.
Got you. And I guess one thing you said, I'm not sure if I caught it right. You said that the thing about Minneapolis, especially with the big corporations that are there having their headquarters, is that they give you the opportunity, but when it comes to like culturally, you have to create that and you have to go kind of seek that out for yourself.
Yeah.
Is that, I guess, can you explain a little bit more of that?
Yeah. So I'll use Beast Mode Digital in an aspect. So we're both connected to Beast Mode. We're both connected to multiple communities, right? ETA Foundation. We have similar desires, thought patterns, passions towards serving people, getting kind of the word out. I see that here, and I think that is part of the culture here in Minnesota, in Minneapolis specifically. the difference is when you realize like, okay, here's what they give you, but they can't give you everything. It's just like our parents, right? Our parents want to give you a great education and want to guide you through life, but they can't give you everything. Some of that you got to learn on your own. I think it forces, because there are not a lot of people of color, because there are hidden opportunities within the opportunities, it almost forces you to feel like either I got to do it myself or I can be comfortable. And I think sometimes people choose to be comfortable. So the way I wanted to kind of go about my life was, I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity that you give me. And when you give it to me, I'm going to not only leverage it like once or twice or for my own good, I'm also going to put other people on. And I think that exists here too. I think there are, if somebody comes here for a job, there's multiple people I've met from the South who are like, yo, I came up here, I ain't know a soul, but it was a great opportunity. I came here to go to school, blah, blah, blah. And then they met their spouse. And then they've been working at that job for 10 years because they treated them well, or they found like they could, it was less competition, or there were so many opportunities because there were things that were happening. And all of that, I think, comes with a cost. It's a trade-off. So you may get a bunch of opportunities, but you're far away from home. You may be far away from home, but you're making up enough money and you're living pretty well. You can fly back home as much as you want to.
Right.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat, because I guess as the more time I'm spending like in Breathe University and around like Beast Mode Digital, the thing that I'm seeing as I'm just starting to get into like the business space or trying to figure out what the mindset is, a lot of times I come across this, whether it's from people that don't have or people that, I guess I could say maybe people of color or people that just like, you kind of see that there's a system set up and it's maybe not set up to work for you. And sometimes I hear people either in their language or in what they say, it's like, oh, okay, like they're not looking out for us. And like sometimes I didn't understand what that meant because me, myself, like I live here in Georgia and I grew up here in Georgia, but like naturally I'm not US born. So it's like I'm foreigner coming in and I'm kind of look at things from a different lens. And from my viewpoint, it's always like,
my bad. You good?
you're good.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think there is a different level of experience that people get, especially like you said, if you were born somewhere, not raised somewhere. I think the thing I think about that though, Asher, is like, yes, there are disparities. Yes, there's, all types of things that happen, but what are you gonna do about it, right? And not everybody lives their life that way. And so what I've always tried to share with people that I encounter is like, okay, but still, like, yep, that's a fact. So you gonna cry about it or you gonna figure out how to get over it? And usually people know me well enough to know like they respect that. And I don't do it in a rude way, but I think they respect that and will say, you know what, I like that. I like that attitude. I like that approach to life. And so that's allowed me to meet so many different people and to experience so many different things. And I think the same thing for people here. Like there's so many people who have been exposed to different things. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Got you. And I mean, the reason I asked the question, I just asked it for clarification. I know, like, I asked you if you wanted to be interviewed and just kind of do this as like a podcast I'm launching. But my main reason to do this is like, one, I want to get to know you better because it's like, it's one thing to see you online and we kind of interact if we're learning or we're joking, but then like actually having a chance to see how things work from your perspective, that helps me kind of understand who Jesse is. And that way, it's like, okay, like you've got a different perspective, so I can understand that there's another way to see it. But one thing that I saw, like I spent some time in the Midwest for about a year and a few months. I spent about over a year in Louisiana, and then I went up to Illinois, just outside of Chicago in Plainfield. And from time to time, I would go into the city, visit with family. And I think I took maybe a trip or two with some family to Milwaukee. And then right around Labor Day, I drove around Lake Michigan for like 4 days, stopped by 12 cities, went around and just kind of observe how people live. And I was like, oh, okay, it's different up here. Like, it's nice during the summer. I'm sure I wouldn't want to be up here during the winter, but
Yeah.
everybody's out. Like, the water is clear as like crystal because it freezes over during the winter time. I was like, hey, like,
Yeah.
people are living different lives, and it's true that their disparity is a thing. Just like there's disparity in the U.S., there's disparity overseas, but like seeing how the mentality of people is very consistent, like those that see the situation that they're in and decide to do something about it always kind of find a way to come out on top. But then those that are kind of just like, oh, this sucks, they just kind of
Yeah.
get stuck in that. And that trip around Michigan really inspired me as I was getting ready to go back to Georgia, because I think this was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago, because I came back here 2015. And one of my coworkers had reached out and I was looking for a place to live, and they're like really insistent that I move in with them because they had an extra room. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm curious to just look at the place. I don't want to just necessarily, I've been living on my own for a while. I don't want to just go and move in with somebody, but it's like, I go, they're so welcoming and everything. They're out from Washington. And like, I'm really appreciative of how the way people think, because on the one hand, they had this, like when they're on the West Coast, they seem so progressive, and like at the same time, their mentality was kind of like negative. Or one of the people, because I stayed with the couple, and like the how do I say it? Like the woman in the couple, she was just like, oh, this city sucks, it's boring, it's this, it's that, just like all this negative stuff. It's like I just got there within a day, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I walked downtown, I went out, I saw that they're teaching Argentinian tango, which I didn't know what in the world that was. But I went over there and checked that out for the first time. I was like, okay, this is cool. They're teaching this at the YMCA. They've got lively things going on. And for me, it was kind of like a coming home party, like being in the Midwest, coming back to the South, instead of it being flat all the time. It's like you got mountains and rolling hills. And I was like, wow, like you really don't know what you have until it's gone, or you learn to appreciate stuff when you come back to it. So,
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I asked that question, because I just wanted to know, like, with you not seeing what you wanted to see initially, like maybe not seeing other people that look like you, or seeing the opportunities as other people presented it, how did you go about creating those opportunities for yourself and finding them?
Yeah, so I think what was very helpful, my mother never allowed me to settle or to compromise. And so I don't even think I realized that was happening until way after the fact. I was always I've always been a driven person. And so I strategically have always kind of just set up, like, here's what I want to do in life. And I just found people who did what I wanted to do, whether it was in person or online. And I just learned and I learned and I tried it and I learned. And so, like, I feel bad. Like, I don't have a super deep answer for you other than, like, I guess
That's a perfect answer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, other than like just the determination to go after what it was, the things that I said I wanted.
Right. You don't have to be super deep here, man. Just
Because I think sometimes people try to take it there, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm real practical. Like, there was something that I wanted to do. I found somebody who did it, or something that looked somewhere close to it, and most of the things in my life, I saw a lot of things that were wrong, so I only just knew what not to do. Like, I didn't know what to do, but I'm like, I definitely need to do that, because that clearly didn't get you a good result, and it's probably not going to work for me. And so that's how I got stuck on.
Got you. Hey, that makes sense. That's a good point. And sometimes they say it's like if you know what not to do or what you don't like, that's better than not knowing anything at all. Because
Absolutely.
a lot of times people just like they kind of made me feel bad where you're in high school or you're in middle school, you get to college, and it's like certain people are always so like, I know exactly what I want to do. Like since I was a kid, I was a prodigy, I was this, I was that. And like if you spend too much time watching them, it's like, well crap, I don't have my life together. But then you grow up and you're like, you look over and you see that person, they're over there struggling silently, but they don't want to say anything because they like put on this persona, and it's like, man, you ain't got no clothes on. Like, stop,
Right.
stop fooling around. But then it's like, okay, I've got my thing that I like. I'm doing this. It works. I do that. It doesn't work. I'm not doing that anymore. I keep doing this. It works. Okay, like build on it and just yeah, that's a good point. You said you knew what you didn't like or what didn't work, so it's like, hey, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I just ran with it, man. I just ran.
That's what's up. So what do you have going on now? You said you do full-time consulting and speaking.
Yeah, so I work for myself. I'm actually about to try to hire an admin right now. So probably about 60% of the time is consulting. I would say 50% of the time is consulting, 30% of the time, sorry, 50% of the time is speaking, 30% of the time is consulting, and the other, 30, 20, whatever is left is around coaching. And so I try to spread. Those are pretty much the three business units. And I travel a lot, and so I'm actually going to Houston first thing in the morning to speak at a conference for HBCU faculty and staff. So I've been able to, again, I didn't know how necessarily to create it, but I knew what didn't work, and I've been able to now create a living and provide for my family just from my gift and being able to speak and to help people. Really just kind of getting at your same question. Like I serve wherever I can. So sometimes people want me to speak. Sometimes people want me to work with them more consistently on their organization. I met a lady legit today in a cafe, and just happened. And she asked me what I did, told her what I did. She's like, man, I'm looking for a professional development coach. And we got to talking. She was talking about a situation at work. And I was like, yep, that's pretty much what I do. Here's what you should do. And she was like, I should hire you. Well, you let me know.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So
Nice. It's funny because until I saw guys like you, saw people like ET, got into Breathe University and kind of got around like where people are doing this regularly, making money doing something that seems common, but it's like it's one of those things that seems simple, but it's really not. And when you see the kind of work and effort people put behind it, it's like, oh, okay, they're not just sitting up here talking. They're really studying their craft. They're like honing it. And can you speak a little bit to that, like what it took from you just speaking normally for 8 years, starting the business on your own, like what kind of changed, or what was your work process like to where you got excited, you're like, okay, I can make money doing this, but now it's like, if I'm going to make money, like here's how much I'm going to make, or like here's how I'm going to even go from making zero to making something.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest shifts that I had to see, I talked about this on my webinar last night. I had to see in myself that I was a business. And so I don't think that most of us are taught those business principles and that you are a business. So in the sense of like the definition of business is the exchange of goods for commerce. And so if I go talk, most of the time before I was talking, and I guess I got paid, I got a check for it, but that was just kind of part of how I saw it. Right. Oh, I want to serve. Oh, I want to help. Oh, I want to give back. And so I would go talk and I wouldn't get anything out of it other than, the high of, oh man, I did something great. When the shift for me was when I saw myself as a business and being able to say, oh, people will actually pay me a certain amount of money to go speak and still serve, but add value, and they'll pay me. And then, so like I got a couple, you know, a couple $100 here, $500 here, 1,000. I think the first time somebody paid me $1,500, I was like, whoa, this is real. Okay. And then the numbers just kept going up. And I was like, whoa, this really happens. And then again, being around people like E.T., Kendall, David Shands, all these folks that make money doing it, I was like, yo, this is legit. Okay.
Right.
So I got even more serious about the craft.
Got you. And I mean, what is it? What are some specific things you did? Did you like seek out coaching or like?
Yeah, that's the first thing I did. I got a coach. So Kendall Ficklin, I called him. I followed E, pretty much did everything I could, watched him, seeing how, you know, he was consistent. And I wasn't skeptical, but I was just like, yo, if my man, if his story is really what it says, what he says it is, and he figured it out, clearly he knows something. And so I was just following that. But then I would see other people around him, and Kendall had been with him for a while, and they were talking about him. And so when I met him at a conference, I reached out to Kendall and was like, yo, I want to learn how to do what you do. I heard you, you know, built it from the bottom up. Excuse me. And we had a pretty similar personality, and he taught me the ins and outs, how to craft my story, how to call and find opportunities, what to say, what not to say, what to send out. And all I did, again, I didn't know what not to. I didn't know what to do. I knew what not to do. So he gave me stuff to do. I just went and did it. That was it. Like I literally just did every single thing that he gave me. Some of the stuff that worked, I would come back and say, yo, that didn't work. And he would give me something else. Eventually it just started working, and I was like, wow, he really knows what he's talking about. This is crazy.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah, I think most of it though was just taking it seriously. Like I started practicing. I would get up in the morning, crack of dawn, and I was already up early anyway. And I would practice my talk, sitting in the mirror. I would practice telling stories, putting up flashcards and talking to myself. And my wife would be like, yo, why are you making all that noise at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning? I use my my kids. They would throw me different words, and I would try to tell a story and ask them if if it made sense. I started reading to my kids a totally different way, trying to, you know, use the voice inflection and all that stuff. There were just things that I did because once I knew I could make, you know, $500,000, I knew that was just the tip of the iceberg. Right. And I really had a passion to say, no, let me see how far I can go with this thing. And I literally, I mean, I told you I've been in this 4 years. I still feel like I'm just started.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah, I'm so hungry, man. I get like this stuff. Like you see, I stood up when you asked me the question.
Right.
I'm usually pretty chill when I'm not on stage, and even when I am speaking, I'm pretty calm. But like, I get super excited talking about stuff like this because I really believe like you're only as good as your last gig. And so my last gig I just did for a private company, which I had never even, like the fact that I'm working for a private company that I can't even talk about, I was like, yo, I'm clearly on my way. This is it. So I get excited about stuff like that because I think the exposure that we have to people around us to do things that are different creates more opportunities and more ideas.
That's a great point. Like the one thing I'm finding for myself right now is that I've gone from doing a lot of spectating from the sideline, kind of watching, and it's like, oh, they say just create, just do this, just do that, and I'm like, but what do I do? And I was like, okay, stop asking that question. You already had the idea.
Yeah.
Like, go talk to somebody that's doing it. That's just a few weeks or a year in front of you, and like see what they're doing, and like literally just started having the conversation. And initially, I started it, ran away from it, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, this editing thing is hard. Like, I can't stand to hear my voice or look at my face. And then it's like, well, you got to get over that at some point. Like, kind of get out of your feelings and figure it out. And just going back to what you said about being consistent and kind of doing the like small incremental steps really make the difference to where, like, the only reason I really got into this is because I took some time off from work, and then I wasn't in the best mind state, but kind of getting back around the right people and trying to figure out like, okay, what is it that I need to be doing, and like, what do I care about?
Yeah.
And going to like one of the ETA conferences and daring enough to like write down a dream or a goal, and it's like, I don't know if I want to write this down. I'm sitting there like scribbling it on the piece of paper. Like,
Yeah.
I said, and I was like, of all times, when are you gonna do it? October 2019. I was like, shit. Like,
Yep.
write it, like put it in my book bag, forget about it, just go home. Like, oh, this is great. Like, hug up on friends, like, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Like, go back to my room. Like, I flew up that day and was flying back the next day, and I was just like, oh, I'll just lay in bed. I don't really want to go out. Like, just come up like with excuses, and they're always like a dime a dozen. And like, finally, like, just a combination of things coming together, and when it kind of hits you to where it's like, oh, okay, like there's room for me here.
Yeah.
I can actually grow in this space. That's a really powerful thing.
Absolutely. That's what's up.
So I guess if you had like a takeaway message to give people, what would you tell somebody that's like riding the fence, or somebody that's just like, oh no, you guys are just talking some mess, or like this, it's not true. Like, I didn't grow up around that. Like, you're just making up stuff just to make yourselves feel good. Like, what would you tell somebody that's like just is doubting themselves so much, or they had an idea at some point, but they just need a reason to like believe in themselves again?
Yeah, that's a great thing. So let me I want to make sure I say it right.
Gotcha.
I would say to that person who feels that way, shame on you. Shame on you for being selfish. Shame on you for throwing a pity party on yourself because you decided that you weren't going to give 100%. Shame on you for being so selfish that you won't change somebody's life, right? Like, I literally think that we have the power to, I mean, from a smile to a hug to a handshake to content to a video to a talk to creating something, whatever that is. I literally believe we have the power to change people's lives, but we're so caught up in our own stuff and we're so selfish that we don't think about other people. We think about ourselves. I always give the opportunity to tell when I speak with people. I always say, you know, I ask the question, who's counting on you? And most times somebody, if not multiple people, will say like myself. And I'll say, don't say yourself. And they're always like, well, why? And I'm like, because how many of y'all ever hit snooze in your life? And usually hands go up. I'm like, how many of y'all hit snooze this morning? Right. How many of y'all hit snooze this morning? Like, snooze is real. And they're like, man, me. And I'm like, because you will hit snooze on yourself, but you won't hit snooze on somebody else. If it's that person that's important to you, if it's that person who you feel like, you know, if you don't make it, then they don't make it, whatever that is. It could be your mom, your dog, I don't care who it is.
Right.
But shame on you for being that selfish that you don't want to get up and you want to hit snooze on them. Like, shame on you. And if you feel like that's not you, then you owe it to them and you owe it to yourself to give every single thing that you can in order to make their life a better place. Like, I just believe, like, again, we have the power. And no, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're always searching for this like perfect thing. There is no perfect person. You are perfected in the process. And so as you continue to move and go, you get better and you get better and it gets easier and it gets easier and you keep moving. And so you got to figure out how to keep doing that. Hey, you guys, Mosaic is actually going to be out there this week. I didn't know if they told you already. No, they didn't. Sorry.
You're good.
So you got to keep moving. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep going. If not for yourself, for somebody else. If you and I both know, like, if somebody had a gun to your head, somebody called you and they had a gun to whoever, your mom, your dad, your loved one, and said, you know, if you don't come up with $10,000 in 24 hours, they're gone. You might go rob a bank. I don't know. I'm not telling you go do it. I'm just saying you will figure out something to come up with more than zero. And that's the mentality that I feel like people need to have a little bit more. It's like, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to push through? Are you willing to get past that one doubt thought and see what happens when you trust yourself. See what happens when you try it. Most of the time, if not 98% of the time, you find out that you were just tripping.
Mhm.
And I'm a living proof of that. I was in my head, I threw myself a pity party, and when I got there and showed up, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Actually, I got a phone number. Actually, I met somebody. Actually, I had a really good time, but I was at the house throwing a hissy fit because I was being extra.
Right.
9 times out of 10. So that's what I would tell them. Like, yo, you have every opportunity in the world to do anything. Don't choose to do nothing.
Gotcha. And I like how you put in there, trust yourself.
Yeah, got to, man.
Got it. Appreciate you, Jesse. This, if you would, let the people know where they can find you, how they can reach out to you.
Man, the best spot online, if you reach out to me on Instagram, I'm Mr. J Ross, MRJROSS. On LinkedIn, I'm just Jesse Ross. On Facebook, I'm just Jesse Ross. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm super approachable, as Ashley will tell you. I try to be my best to just be a regular guy. I am a regular guy. You see me, I'm in a hoodie. I'm still in space at my church. I'm doing all types of stuff. So just let me know if you would love to talk. I would love to connect with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you on the call.
All right. Peace.